Welcome to Science Nerd TV, a channel for science nerds. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos like this. With ongoing coronavirus outbreak, our lives have changed drastically. Lifestyle, businesses, jobs, schools, everything is affected. We have lost so many lives and still the outbreak isn't anywhere near end. But do you know it's not first time humans are facing this level of pandemic? And in fact it is not dangerous as we have faced in past. Here are the 5 worst pandemics of human history before coronavirus. Number 1. Black Death. Black Death is most deadliest outbreak in recorded human history. This outbreak causes 75 to 200 million deaths during 1347 to 1352. The Black Death was caused by bubonic plague. This outbreak of the plague ravaged Europe, Africa, and Asia, thought to have originated in Asia. The plague most likely jumped continents via the fleas living on the rats that so frequently lived aboard merchant ships. The nightmare began for Europe one October day in 1347 as 12 ships from the Black Sea arrived in Sicily. Porters greeting the ships found a grisly sight, a few ill sailors, their bodies ravaged with black oozing buboes, standing on deck among their dead crewmates. Despite soon banishing the ships from the port, the damage already was done. Number 2. Spanish Flu, 1918. Between 1918 and 1920 a disturbingly deadly outbreak of influenza tore across the globe, infecting over a third of the world's population and ending the lives of 20 to 50 million people. The cause of this outbreak was H1N1 influenza virus. It infected 500 million people around the world, or about 27% of the then world population of between 1.8 and 1.9 billion. Severe pneumonia-like influenza festered and spread in the cold, wet trenches of World War I, and from there, it circled the globe. At the time, there were no effective drugs or vaccines to treat this killer flu strain. Citizens were ordered to wear masks, schools, theaters and businesses were shuttered and bodies piled up in makeshift morgues before the virus ended its deadly global march. World War I resulted in a shortage of doctors in some areas, and many of the physicians who were left became ill themselves. Schools and other buildings became makeshift hospitals, and medical students had to take the place of doctors in some instances. Number 3. Antonine Plague. The Antonine Plague of 165 to 180 AD, also known as the Plague of Galen, was an ancient pandemic brought back to the Roman Empire by troops returning from campaigns in the Near East. Scholars have suspected it to have been either smallpox or measles, but the true cause remains undetermined. It claims an estimate of 5 million lives. In some places numbers are as high as 1/3 of the population. However, by the time the plague was under control in 180 AD, it had killed millions of people and had practically wiped out Rome's 150,000-man military. It also claimed the life of Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Number 4. HIV. 2005 to 2012. Thought to have originated in the Congo when the virus was transmitted from chimpanzee to human in 1920, HIV, the virus that causes acquired immunodeficiency syndrome (AIDS), didn't begin to spread in America until the early 80s, though some research indicates it may have arrived in New York City from Haiti as early as 1970. Since the start of the epidemic, an estimated 36 million people have died of AIDS-related illnesses. Currently there are between 31 and 35 million people living with HIV. The vast majority of those are in sub-Saharan Africa, where 5% of the population is infected, roughly 21 million people. As awareness has grown, new treatments have been developed that make HIV far more manageable, and many of those infected go on to lead productive lives. Number 5. Plague of Justinian, 541 to 543. Thought to have killed perhaps half the population of Europe, the plague of Justinian was an outbreak of the bubonic plague that afflicted the Byzantine Empire in Mediterranean port cities, killing up to 25 million people in its year-long reign of terror. Generally regarded as the first recorded incident of the bubonic plague, the plague of Justinian left its mark on the world. Due to the nature of ancient records, we don't know the full extent of the disease's spread. We know the Mediterranean region was the hardest hit, but anecdotal evidence indicates some cases occurred in England, Germany and other northern regions. Despite the catchy name, the plague of Justinian was identified as the bubonic plague, otherwise known for its 14th century cousin, the Black Death. The disease earned its name from Justinian, the ruler of the Byzantine Empire at the time. It also has a double meaning, as Justinian's handling of the crisis was almost its own form of infection. As farmers and other workers were dying by the thousands, Justinian was unable to complete many of the projects he had started and began to raise taxes and change the tax code. The plague continued in intermittent cycles in Europe into the mid-8th century and did not re-emerge as a major epidemic until the 14th century. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you like this video. And comment below on what topic next video should be.